When a woman starts backing away and ignoring you, most men panic. Their heart rates spike, anxiety takes over, and they immediately dive into damage control mode. They flood her phone with text messages, call her repeatedly, demand explanations, and desperately try to fix a problem they don't even understand. They write massive paragraphs over explaining themselves and apologizing for things they didn't even do, all in a frantic attempt to pull her back. That is total emotional suicide. It is the absolute worst response possible because that chaotic, frantic energy screams desperation. Nothing kills attraction faster, and nothing repels a woman with more force than the suffocating scent of an insecure, needy man who cannot handle a moment of silence. The moment she senses that panic, the power dynamic is completely ruined. When she pulls back, you must do the exact opposite of what your insecure emotions are screaming at you to do. You step directly into your masculine core, completely freeze all chasing behaviors, and refocus your attention entirely back onto your own life. You do not ask her why she's being distant. You don't double text to check if she's mad. And you don't offer cheap reassurance. The exact second you replace those weak, emotional reactions with cold, unshakable self respect, the entire dynamic flips on its head. You immediately stop acting like a boy who is terrified of being abandoned, and you start acting like a high value man who knows exactly what he brings to the table. You need to understand the psychology behind what is actually happening here. Her silence is almost always a test of your strength, your boundaries, and your internal self worth. She is consciously or subconsciously checking to see if you are a grounded rock or a fragile branch that snaps the moment the wind blows. If you fail this test by turning into a soft, over apologetic, approval seeking version of yourself, she will lose all romantic respect and attraction for you instantly. Women are biologically wired to be repelled by weakness in a man, and begging for attention is the ultimate expression of weakness. This is absolutely not the time to seek comfort from her, ask her what is wrong, or plead for a second chance. This is the exact moment you shut off her access to you entirely, closing the door and drawing a hard line in the sand. If she matches you with absence and pulls away, you match her with absolute, deafening silence. You do not play games, you do not throw tantrums, and you do not act out of spite. You simply remove your presence because your time and attention are valuable assets that must be earned. But while you are maintaining this silence, you absolutely do not sit around staring at your phone, scrolling through her social media, or hoping and praying that she finally calls you. Instead, you use this sudden vacuum of space to completely level up your existence. You dive headfirst into the grind. You aggressively build your wealth. You sharpen your mental toughness. And you actively stack your real world options. Her distance becomes your ultimate doorway to dominance. You take every ounce of that frustrated, anxious energy and channel it directly into your physical fitness, your career, and your personal empire. This strategic pivot ensures a flawless outcome for you, no matter what happens next. By refusing to chase and focusing entirely on your own growth, you create a win-win scenario. You will either completely win her back on your own strict terms because she realizes you are an unshakable man she cannot afford to lose. Or, better yet, you will build yourself into such a powerful, high-value version of yourself that you look back and realize you never actually needed her in the first place. The absolute second she begins to pull away from you, you must go completely ghost. This means you immediately cut off every single line of communication without warning, without an explanation, and without throwing a public tantrum. You send absolutely no follow-up texts to see if she got your last message. You make zero phone calls. You send no casual or friendly check-ins to ask how her day is going. And you maintain absolute zero engagement with her social media platforms. You do not view her stories. You do not like her photos. You do not leave witty comments. And you don't drop subtle hints on your own profile. You simply disappear from her digital and physical world entirely. It is vital for you to understand that this extreme level of radio silence is not about petty manipulation. childish mind games, or trying to trick her into missing you. This is about brutal, unyielding masculine discipline. The single biggest mistake weak, emotionally reactive men make in this exact scenario is trying to talk, reason, or logically convince a woman back into liking them. They think if they can just find the perfect combination of words, they can fix the vibe. That is a massive delusion. You cannot negotiate attraction. You cannot argue your way back into her heart. And you cannot beg a woman to value you. You are a man who refuses to chase external validation. And your sudden, total silence sends that exact message loud, clear, and completely unfiltered. Silence terrifies the vast majority of men because they operate from a deep rooted fear of loss. They stay awake at night worrying that if they don't reach out, she will forget about them, find someone else, or move on permanently. But you must realize that this exact fear is precisely what drives men to act weak, look desperate, and ultimately destroy whatever attraction was left. You do not fear the quiet. You embrace it, respect it, and use it as a powerful psychological weapon. Silence is the only tool that gives a woman the actual uninterrupted space required to experience what life is truly like without you. It completely strips away her safety net and forces her to sit alone with the cold consequences of her choices, her distance, and her attitude. If she is pulling back as a calculated test to see where your limits are, your absolute stillness proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you will never break under her pressure. You don't chase her down. You prepare to replace her. That is the exact energy you must embody. Now, while you are maintaining this absolute silence, you are definitely not sitting around in a dark room moping, feeling sorry for yourself, or waiting by the phone for a notification to pop up. You use this newly acquired time and mental clarity to build massive, unstoppable momentum in your own life. You hit the gym with aggressive intensity. You stack your money by working harder on your business or career, and you actively expand your professional and social networks. She needs to feel the heavy, uncomfortable weight of your silence. And then, when she looks up, she needs to witness your undeniable, high value glow up from a distance, without you ever saying a single word to her about it. You do not try to actively make her jealous. You do not post fake status updates to look busy, and you don't brag about your moves to mutual friends. You simply execute your life goals with cold, quiet intention. If she eventually breaks and reaches out to you with a weak, low effort text message, you absolutely do not jump at the very first opportunity to reply like a starved puppy waiting for a scrap of food. You take your time, you stay grounded, and you make her wait. She needs to vividly feel the shift in the atmosphere and realize that pulling away from you comes with a heavy, permanent price tag attached to your attention. You aren't actively trying to punish her or play a game. You are simply demonstrating through your actions that your time, energy, and presence are premium assets that will never be given away for free. Masculine silence is pure, unadulterated power because it proves to her and to the world that you are perfectly fine, thriving, and complete with or without her in your life. The very second a woman begins to ignore you or actively pull away, she must be completely and aggressively stripped of her priority status in your life. You have to understand that too many men make the fatal mistake of building their entire daily routines, their emotional moods, and their constant thoughts around a woman they barely even know, or someone who isn't investing back in them. They check their phones every 5 minutes, they rearrange their schedules just in case she decides to call, and they let her hot and cold behavior dictate whether they have a good day or a bad day. That is an absolute losing formula that destroys your power. You need to realize a fundamental truth about human nature. The higher the pedestal you build for a woman, the further down she has to look just to see you. When you make someone your absolute center, you inherently position yourself below them. So when she chooses to create distance, you must immediately stop planning your life around her. Stop waiting around for her text messages and forcefully put yourself back where you belong, right at the very center of your own universe. Your personal goals, your physical fitness, your financial status, and your ultimate purpose in life are the true mission. She is not, and she never should have been. You must build a life that is so structurally sound and powerful that if she decided to pack up and walk out of it today, your entire empire wouldn't even experience a single crack, let alone a collapse. Look at yourself like a king. Kings do not spend their days chasing after people who run away, and they certainly do not beg citizens to stay inside their castle walls. Kings spend their time ruthlessly building, defending, and expanding their kingdoms. The exact moment a woman senses that she has become your entire world, that your happiness, your security, and your mental stability depend completely on her validation, she loses every single ounce of romantic respect for you. That is a harsh, unyielding truth of behavioral psychology. Women are naturally, biologically drawn to men who are entirely locked into their own path and focused on their own mission, which means the only logical move for you right now is to turn around and get right back onto yours. Absolutely do not sit around staring at a blank phone screen, hoping for a notification that may never come. Take that anxious, wasted energy and go finish that major project you've been putting off. Master that new high value skill and go out to connect with high energy, ambitious people who actually respect your time. You need to realize that you are not competing for her attention, nor are you performing tricks to get her to notice you again. By living your life to the absolute fullest, you are actively reminding her and yourself that she is not your only option, and she never will be. A weak man who treats a woman like an untouchable goddess while treating himself like a disposable peasant will always finish dead last, burned out, and disrespected. Flip the script completely and start treating yourself like the actual prize. Keep your masculine frame incredibly tight, maintain your boundaries, and establish the firm rule that if she ever wants back into your life, she is the one who has to work to match your energy, not the other way around. You never, under any circumstances, fight for someone who is actively walking away from you. Instead, you put your shoulders back, fix your posture, and confidently walk right in the opposite direction. Her sudden distance is not a tragedy. It is your ultimate, undeniable green light to completely rebuild your value from the ground up. You need to understand right now that this entire process is absolutely not about trying to trick her, impress her, or change her mind. It is about reclaiming a powerful masculine identity that is completely independent of anyone else's opinion, text response, or validation. Stop wasting your valuable days pacing around, staring at your phone, and worrying about whether she approves of you or loves you. Take every single ounce of that frustrated, anxious, and pent-up emotional energy and channel it directly into hyper-aggressive, ruthless self-development. Sit down, look in the mirror, and brutally evaluate the 3 pillars of your masculine foundation: your money, your muscle, and your mindset. Find every single weak spot in your armor and attack those deficiencies with absolute intensity until they become your greatest strengths. Start by stepping into the gym to chisel your physique and build a level of savage discipline that cannot be shaken. When you push your body to its absolute limits, lift heavy weights, and stay consistent on the days you feel completely exhausted, you aren't just building bigger muscles. You are building mental toughness and proving to yourself that you are in total control of your actions and your life. This physical dominance and command over your body naturally radiates a raw, powerful kind of confidence that draws high-value people to you like a magnet. At the exact same time, you need to ruthlessly sharpen your professional edge. Go chase that massive promotion at work, dive into that new business venture you've been putting off, or work late hours to master a high-income skill. When you are completely laser-focused on creating real wealth, building a legacy, and securing your future, you naturally develop a heavy, magnetic presence. You show the entire world that your internal self-worth is firmly anchored in tangible, real-world achievements, not tied to a cheap text message. Building true value also means you must intentionally expand your social circle and surround yourself with high standard, high achieving men who will call you out on your weakness and constantly push you to grow. Get out of your comfort zone, dive into deep, challenging hobbies, and master new skills to give your personal life layers and depth that no single relationship could ever define. You want to cultivate a bulletproof mindset of absolute abundance, actively treating every single moment of her silence as an empty vacancy meant solely for your self growth. Keep your daily routine ruthlessly organized. Wake up with a distinct purpose, track your goals, and win your mornings every single day. Your massive, calculated, and quiet real world actions will always speak 10 times louder to a woman than a desperate, paragraph long phone call ever could. By standing firm and completely refusing to pause your life to wait around for her to choose you, you naturally become undeniably attractive to the outside world. And most importantly, you become entirely unforgettable to yourself. When a woman starts pulling away from you, continuing to show up in her life is the single most destructive, attraction killing move you could ever make. Weak, low value men operate under the massive delusion that being constantly available, always answering instantly, and staying right in her line of sight will somehow breed love and make her miss them. That is completely backward. Attraction does not grow in close proximity. Attraction requires empty space, mystery, and the sudden fear of loss. She must be allowed to feel the heavy, jarring emptiness that you leave behind the exact moment you step away. She needs to actually experience what life feels like when it is completely devoid of your attention, your validating text messages, your masculine energy, and your protective presence. You have to let that sudden void echo loudly in her daily life. This means you immediately stop viewing her social media stories. You stop double tapping her photos. You stop replying to her vague status updates. And you cut off every single shred of your digital presence from her world. You need to understand that you do not vanish simply to get a cheap, temporary reaction out of her or to play a petty game of hard to get. You vanish because you possess a high level of self respect and you fundamentally refuse to beg anyone to see your worth. If she is not actively matching your effort, your respect, and your investment, then she instantly loses total access to your world. It is as simple and absolute as that. Do not sit around your house moping, looking at old photos, or reminiscing about the good times you used to share. Your absence cannot just be a bluff. It must be an emotional and physical reality that is firmly backed by massive, relentless personal progress. You don't just become invisible and stagnant, you become invisible and rising. Let her mind wander and let her imagine you getting physically stronger, mentally sharper, and significantly wealthier every single day she chooses to remain silent. That quiet, unverified thought of you thriving without her will haunt her psychology far more than any long, desperate text paragraph you could ever type out. Women have an incredible emotional memory, and they always remember exactly how a man handles pressure, rejection, and distance. When you vanish with total dignity, zero complaints, and an unshakable masculine calm, you set a standard that she will never forget. Subconsciously, she will begin to compare every subsequent guy she meets to the absolute king who refused to crumble, cry, or beg when she walked away. This complete lack of access breeds an intense mystery, and that mystery naturally breeds a deep curiosity that pulls her focus right back to you. When she eventually circles back to check on you, whether she sends a late night text, likes an old post, or creates a fake excuse to talk, you absolutely must not fold or break your frame. You maintain your new rhythm. You show her through your polite detachment that you never paused your life for her, and you let her vividly realize that she is returning to a far more dangerous, highly upgraded, and completely independent version of the man she left behind. You are absolutely going to feel the sting of her rejection and her cold distance, and you need to accept that right now because it is completely human. Your chest might tighten, your gut might churn with frustration, and your mind will try to flood you with endless, stressful questions about what went wrong. But here is the dividing line between a boy and a king. A real man never, under any circumstances, allows his internal temporary frustration to crack or break his external masculine frame. You absolutely do not react to her from a place of raw, chaotic emotion. Instead, you pause, collect yourself, and respond with absolute, unyielding strength. Reacting emotionally is impulsive, erratic, and incredibly weak. It looks like checking your phone every 60 seconds, demanding frantic explanations about her behavior, and screaming to her through your desperate actions that she has total, unrestricted control over your emotional state. That exact panic is precisely what she expects you to do, because it is what every other weak, predictable man has done to her in the past. Instead of playing into that trap, you must step up and completely control the tempo of the entire situation. You take a deep breath, push your feelings to the side, look at the reality of the situation using cold logic, and display the rare, grounded leadership that women actually respect and crave in a man. They want a man who remains entirely unshaken and solid, like a rock, even when the relationship gets shaky or emotional storms hit. When she looks across the distance she created and realizes that her heavy silence didn't move you or rattle your confidence even one single inch, it completely shatters her ego and forces her to deeply respect your boundaries. You forcefully remind yourself exactly who you are by channeling that dark energy into your daily routine. Waking up earlier than everyone else, training twice as hard in the gym, dominating your workplace, and moving through the world with absolute, unwavering certainty.